everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is your look at the astrology for July 8th through 14th, 2024. I am still on Beach Internet. I think this is last time with Beach Internet, so let's just hope that things stay live because I know that last week it cut out. I've got like my dad's on a church Zoom call. I'm doing this. We're stretching the capacity of Beach Internet. But yeah, so I'm presently in Delaware. Some of you may know that I recently moved. My family has a home in Delaware, so we're doing this on a little bit of a lake view today. But for those that don't know who I am, my name is Katie Sweetman, and I'm an astrologer and psychic medium located, well, presently in Delaware, usually in New York, but now in Maryland, at least for the time being. And every week we gather live to look at the astrology, and you hear me say every week, the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. It's something that I think about very often because a lot of us, and I was the same way too, and I will say sometimes I still do it, we approach astrology from the perspective of personality, and that works. But what we're doing here is we're looking at time. We're looking at how time builds and constructs. We're looking at the seasons. We're looking at metaphoric time, symbolic time, and how you can live in the time of your life knowing what's going on in the sky. That's why I say the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. So, as I was saying in the introduction, the feed cut out last week. If it does cut out, don't worry, it is still recording. I will, as always, upload it to YouTube and Spotify. And I do put the introduction on, not the individual signs, on Instagram too, but Instagram changed things, so now it's difficult to do longer videos. But anyway, so as always, if you're watching live, do say hello. We just had a Cancer new moon. I say just had July 5th. So as I record this, it's July 8th, a few days ago. And as you probably know by now, new moons are new beginnings. We have new moons every 4 weeks, and typically it's in each consecutive sign of the zodiac. So 4 weeks ago, it was in Gemini, June 6th, and then on July 5th, we had the Cancer new moon. And it says that we are now in a 4-week period, like a sort of a stage and a setting that works through the lens and the archetype of the sign of Cancer. Cancer is the sign of home and family. I know that sounds a bit repetitive at this time, but it's true. In the zodiac, and there are 12 signs in the zodiac, Cancer is just one of them. Each sign talks about how life is built. And it talks about, it's actually very fascinating. I love the zodiac and how Cancer, I don't think always gets its fair due in astrology. And this is where sometimes, astrology, personality, we sort of like to say certain things about the signs. Look, I'm a Scorpio. I get it. We've got a reputation on a personality level. But the reason I don't think Cancer gets its fair due, and I may have even said this last week, is that Cancer forms the base and foundation of the zodiac chart. So in the zodiac chart, which is a wheel, we start with Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, and we count out 4. Why 4? Because Cancer is the 4th sign. And that part of the sky, that part of the wheel, is the bottom. It's a base. And it reminds us, and I realize that Cancer brings up emotions and memories and feelings, and sometimes very complicated emotions and memories and feelings. But overall, it reminds us that we need a place to call home. We need stability and security. We need to feel safe. And I know you're like, well, that sounds nice, Katie. I know it's not always so simple, but it reminds us that at least when everything is going well, we feel rooted, we feel grounded, we feel a sense of connectivity, a connectivity to our past in a positive way. We have memories that we've made with other people. We have a sense of family, even if that family is not our blood-related family. And that's the thing, when things get complicated with our blood family, we sometimes have to make that by ourselves. We have to make something very different than what has been given to us. But as an archetype, and at least Cancer season and the Cancer new moon, reminds us that we need to tend to our roots. And maybe some of you, I mean, here I am. I'm literally in a house that I used to spend my summers at. I was at the pool today, and I was thinking from the summers of 1989 all the way to 1996, like I was always in this pool every summer. So that's a memory, and maybe you have your own memories during this time of childhood and growing up, and the things that are familiar, and maybe sometimes the things that are complicated. That said, this Cancer new moon, again, it opens up a 4-week period for us to reach into the past, reach into the memories, reach for the things that are familiar and comforting, and to sort of, Cancer really connects us to this like a substance, like energy, like what's the substance of our life, and what's our, of course, meaning and purpose is the greater substance, but how do we get cared for? How do we get nurtured? This Cancer new moon also happens to come, and I said this last week and I'll say it again, 3 months after a Aries solar eclipse on April 8th and 3 months before a Libra solar eclipse on October 2nd. So 3 months from now, yes, we will have another solar eclipse. We'll actually have a pair of eclipses. The solar eclipse on October 2nd at 10 degrees of Libra, and then we will also have the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse. Yes, we will have our first eclipse in Pisces this year on September 17th, and this will be, I believe, at 25 degrees of Pisces, right on my south node. It's going to be great, but sorry, that's a little bit of a technical joke. But so we are 3 months before eclipses, and I've just noticed time and again that point, that merge point between the eclipse before and the eclipse after, it tends to be very interesting. So that Cancer new moon was square the lunar nodes. The lunar nodes are what make eclipses happen. Astrology is about time, but it also talks about this like almost like spiral, like evolution of time and direction. And since last July, so July of 2023, the lunar nodes have been in Aries and Libra. The lunar nodes are like this compass point that we all collectively experience. So the north node, north, is in Aries. The south node, which is the past, it's memory, it's the things that we need to go back and look at and sometimes even work on, is in Libra. Libra is a sign that's exactly opposite of Aries. It's a little bit too simplistic to say that south node equals bad, north node equals good. Just go towards the north node. It's sometimes a little bit more complex than that. But on some level, this is a time, 18 months in period, that takes us into, I believe, the beginning of 2025. I have to get that date in my head, where we are really looking at relationships. Why relationships? Because Aries and Libra are the relational axis in astrology. They are 2 of the 4 cardinal signs. The other 2 complementary cardinal signs are Cancer and Capricorn. Of course, it's Cancer season. And the 4 cardinal signs are like the 4 pillars of life. They hold up our lives. That's why I was talking a few moments ago about Cancer and Cancer being the base and foundation. When the sun goes into Cancer, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, I know that we have friends in the Southern Hemisphere that are watching, but here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the start of summer. The 4 directions of life connect to the solstices and the equinoxes. So these are very important signs in their own right. Symbolically speaking, in your own personal astrology, you have that cross, that 4 directions of your life. And those 4 directions, they may be in very different signs than Cancer, Capricorn, etc., but they hold up your life. This is why we need to make sure that the 4 directions of our life, these 4 pillars, are well situated, that we feel anchored. And again, with Cancer, symbolically and sometimes literally, being the support of the base and foundation of our life. When we feel like we have a place to call home, where we know where is home and who is home, we can sort of relax. We can come into life. So that's sort of, hopefully that made sense. I look at the importance of Cancer as well as the, in total, 4 cardinal signs of the zodiac. So, this is a season, like I said, it might bring up some complicated memories, but this is also a season that puts us right smack dab in the middle of the eclipses. If you remember, maybe you've been watching me long enough, that the eclipses, they bring things in and out of our lives. Our lives can pivot, time bends, doors open, sometimes doors close, and that's just how eclipses work. Later this week, we will have our first quarter moon after, so it's going to be 1 week after the Cancer new moon. This will be on Friday the 12th, going into 13th of July, and that will be activating the sign of Libra. Again, Libra eclipse on October 2nd. And that's the funny thing about eclipses. You're like, well, wait a second, Katie, the solar eclipse is 3 months from now. But when the moon hits Libra, and it starts to hit those degrees of the recent eclipses and also the eclipse to come, it's kind of crazy, but I've seen it over and over again. We can see the eclipse 3 months before. Not literally the eclipse, meaning you're not going to look out in the sky or get on the internet and see, oh, there's an eclipse happening in this part of the world, meaning the energy and even the event that's associated with it. Eclipses also mark the time and sort of the milestones of our life. They're very often not that far behind a marriage, of the birth of a child, a major move. I've been using my own life as an example. I knew that April 8th eclipse in Aries was going to hit right on my IC, the base and foundation of my chart. And I was like, there's probably going to be a move. I just didn't think it was going to be to Maryland, at least temporarily. So that's where eclipses can really mark major milestones and turning points. And like I said, moving out of state, moving in with a parent, that is certainly a major milestone. So, look at your life. What are the major milestones that are happening? Maybe you're like, oh, nothing's happening, Katie. I don't know, maybe nothing's happening. Or maybe you can start to see a theme. Maybe that theme is when you sort of look back at it, it is about relationships. It is about connection. It is about looking at past relationships or past patterns. Or maybe it's looking at themes in your life about learning to stand on your own 2 feet, to take the lead, to take command. Maybe you're learning to negotiate. Maybe you're going to be a grandmother this week. Maybe that's your major milestone. Maybe it's a change in your career. You'll have to see. So it may be a week, especially as we go into next week, where we may get a preview of the eclipse to come in October, or even see how this eclipse, even in Aries, 3 months before, is starting to really show up in our life. Astrology isn't always like dead on the date, like that's when it's going to happen. That's the funny thing. So my move was in June, but it's been sort of playing out in different stages. And it can happen in June, even though the midpoint of the eclipse is in July, especially when you see the right trigger points. So Cancer new moon, we have a week of energy of renewal, and the other big thing this week is, there's 2 things. One is definitely this week. The other one is next week, but we're going to start to feel it. But one, Venus will go into Leo. So we're starting to have what are called the personal planets. Personal planets are Venus, Mercury, and Mars go into Leo. So even though we're in Cancer season, Mercury and Venus are never that far away from the sun. So the sun is in Cancer right now, but Mercury is in Leo, and now Venus, or at least on the 11th, will go into Leo. I want us to all start to pay attention to Leo, apart from the fact that I really love the sign of Leo. It's about joy, creativity, passion, individuality, and the real call to be ourselves. It's important to be ourselves. There's only one you in the world. I say to many clients, especially when I talk about Leo energy or fifth house energy or other things in the chart, don't be a cover artist in your own life. There is only one you in all of the universe, but that's not my point. My point is that Leo, I was just starting to think about how later this year, I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but Mars will eventually get into Leo. It'll get into Leo, goodness. I have it on my November 3rd. And it will turn retrograde on December 6th. You're like, it's July, Katie. Like, what's going on? But that retrograde will take us into February of 2025. So we've got Mars in Leo from November 3rd of 2024 all the way to June of 2025. That's a long time. Mars will go back into Cancer. But my point is that retrograde, even though it's not here yet, means that in a few months' time, we're going to be looking at themes around individuality, self, creativity, passion, and joy. Leo is the sign of the sun, and it reminds us that we all need to light up like the sun, and we need to give time and space to the things that give us joy and give us passion. And I know that sounds like a luxury, but as I was saying with Cancer, every sign of the zodiac serves a purpose, and it serves a necessary purpose. Without Leo, we don't have a sense of who we are. We don't connect to that individual spark within ourselves. We have no energy. Leo is a fire sign. So that retrograde, even though, again, it's a few months away, the seeds of some of the things we'll be working on in November, December, and January, and even into, when it goes back into Leo, I forget when, in 2025, they're being planted right now. Just something to take note of. I'm like I said, I'm just looking ahead and as an astrologer, and this we'll come back to this, of course, when we get later in the year, maybe even when we get into Leo season. Leo season is just a couple weeks away. The other thing that's on the horizon, although much sooner than the end of the year, is Mars, which is presently in Taurus. It's going to reach what's called a conjunction to Uranus next week on the 15th. So Monday, so when I record this next week, hopefully back at my dad's place in Maryland, in better situation, we will have this aspect. It's actually a pretty intense aspect. That's why I want to put it on everybody's radar. So first, what is Mars? Mars is a planet, personal planet. If you remember me saying that a few minutes ago, Mars is the planet that gives us energy. It motivates us. It inspires us. It gets us to get out of bed. Without Mars, we would have no sense of individualization. We would have no sense of personal drive and desire. Mars is the planet of desire. It's the planet of sex too. But my point is that Mars, when it's in Taurus, where it's been since the end of, April, if I remember correctly. That's not right. Mars has been in Taurus, June 9th. That's not right. Mars has been in Taurus since June 9th, and it's been taking that energy of drive and motivation towards the sign of Taurus. Taurus is the second sign of the zodiac. It is the sign of material resources, doing this with my hands because it's about touch. It's very tactile. It's about the senses. It takes the fire of Aries, which is the rebirth and the awakening of new life, and it gives it form. It makes it solid. And that's the sense of Taurus being the energy of touch in the body, but it's also one of the signs of matter. And the material world is an earth sign, so it talks about money, resources, value, and worth, and personal security, like physical security. So over the last few weeks, maybe we've been more motivated to enjoy life. Taurus is about pleasure. Maybe it's to enjoy material stability and security, or to feel motivated to create more stability and security in our life. It's been taking its time, meaning Mars has been taking its time, because Mars takes 5 to 6 weeks to cross one zodiac sign, unless it's retrograde. But it will finally reach Uranus, which is also in Taurus, next week, but a few days away as I'm recording this, 7 days away as I'm recording this. So Mars's action, drive, motivations, desires. And what's Uranus? Well, Uranus is not a personal planet. It's an evolutionary planet. It's a modern planet, modern air quotes, because it was discovered in 1781. But Uranus's job is to get us to grow and evolve by any means possible. It turns on the lights, metaphorically speaking. It shakes us awake. It has been in the sign of Taurus since May 2018 and March of 2019. And if you are a Taurus, what was your life like in 2018, 2019, and what is it like now? Maybe not every last Taurus listening is going to have some sort of dramatic arc, but the the idea is for a Taurus, whether you are a Taurus or whatever Taurus governs in your life, it governs something depending on what sign you are, but that area has had to change. And sometimes we resist it, and because Taurus can be stubborn, it needs to feel safe in order to make that change. But Uranus is trying to get us to get out of our way. So personally, you may feel this energy in very particular parts of your life. You may feel it this week as a build-up towards something. Your Uranus and Mars, it can be very restless. It wants to break free of something. If you are a Taurus or Scorpio, if you are an Aries or Libra, this is, and even probably Leo and some other signs too, like this is really hitting on the 4 directions of your life. We all have the 4 directions of our life, depending on our personal astrology is. So it's just something to be aware of. It's not to have any certain expectations. It's just part of a larger story that has already been with us for 6 years. So whatever is going on isn't like out of the blue. It's actually part of a bigger narrative because, like I said, Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018 and 19. Mars and Uranus can be a bit hot-headed or very quick and sometimes not think impulsive and not always think all the way through. So that's, we just need to slow down. We just need to double check things, even if it's a wild and radical idea, get some feedback from friends and loved ones. Like, is this a crazy idea? I don't know. Before we do anything super crazy. But sometimes, we just need to run away and join the circus. That seems kind of appealing these days. So anyway, that's on the radar, and especially as we go into the weekend, we have the first quarter moon, so we're reaching that midpoint, even more of the eclipses, and we're going to have a Scorpio moon, especially on Sunday, so it's going to really start to amp up a lot of emotional energy. I know it's Cancer season, already emotional, it's just going to get even more emotional. So that is your look at the astrology. This week, we're not heavy on the aspects. We do have a nice trine between the Sun and Saturn on the 10th of July. As you probably know, the Sun is in Cancer, which is a water sign. Saturn is in Pisces, also a water sign. This is why it's called trine, because these two signs are 120 degrees. Almost threw some extra numbers in there, 120 degrees away from each other on the zodiac wheel. Trines are opportunities. They're not something that necessarily will happen. It's just a door, and sometimes we really need to take the extra step in order to make something real. Sun trine Saturn gives us the energy of stability. It can bring in the support of somebody older or a mentor or somebody we look up to. Maybe we feel inspired to take the next step up in something, because ultimately Saturn is the energy of maturity, stability, hopefully making the right choices in life and putting everything into order and balance. So as things might get rocky, this week we do have the support of Saturn to make things real, concrete, and hopefully well thought through. So let's look at each of the 12 zodiac signs, starting with Aries. So Aries, I was saying in the introduction, pay attention to the fact that Mars is going to be making a little bit of a spicy conjunction to Uranus on July 15th. So that's next week, but let's talk about it now because Mars is your planet. First, let's talk about where Uranus is. And so every planet in the solar system is always occupying some part of your personal astrology. It could be for a couple of days, it could be for a couple of years, it could even be for 7 years. So in total, Uranus is going to be in your money sign. So Taurus is a money sign for you. It talks about what you own, how you earn a living, what you value, and what you need in order to feel materially safe and secure, and including self-worth. It's been in that sign since May 2018 and March 2019. Every person, of course, who's an Aries or Aries rising is a different person. So you have your own set of circumstances, you have your own relationship with money, stability, and security. Do keep in mind that Uranus, as an evolutionary planet, has demanded change in this part of your life over the last 6 years. It's up to you. Hopefully it's obvious at this point. Maybe you're still scratching your head like, Katie, I don't know, to see where the narrative is. Because there is a narrative. It just might be a little bit, like right in front of our face and we can't even see it. So whatever is happening right now, especially around money, stability, security, value, and worth, is part of a bigger story, and one that has its footprints in the last 5-6 years. Mars and Uranus together can be a little bit fast, a little bit impulsive, so it's up for you just to, like, if you do feel this quick desire to make changes, just bounce the ideas off some loved ones or some people that you respect, just to make sure that it's not a crazy idea. But that said, typically Mars and Uranus, especially Uranus, is just trying to get us out of our own way. We are coming out of the energies of the Cancer new moon, so this is the season in your life to really, of the year, to focus on home and family and roots and foundation. You do have the support from Saturn this week, and Saturn is helping you to get in touch with your intuition, your spirituality. But do keep in mind, I feel like I've had this conversation a couple times with Aries or Aries rising people, that you have Saturn in your 12th right now. You're an Aries, but there are 11 other zodiac signs. So if I count out 11, I will reach your 12th sign, and that happens to be the sign of Pisces. For everybody, the 12th sign represents the end. It is the bridge between one life and the next life, between one breath and the next breath, between 1 year, symbolically, and the next year. Saturn has been there since March 2023. So even as things happen this year, and maybe you feel everybody's different, maybe you feel tired, or maybe you feel like you need to rest or you need to retreat, don't forget that this is a really important time in your life to do a lot of inner search and a lot of letting go and a lot of deeper work into your own spirituality. This is the time to let things go, because when Saturn makes its first dip into Aries next year, later in May of 2025, although that will be for a brief preview, that the things that are with you in the next cycle. So use this time, and especially this Cancer new moon picking up on that Saturn in Pisces, to think about what are the things you do not want to come with you into 2025 and 6. Taurus. So I was saying this in the introduction, and even though this is for July 15th, and I realize that's a whole week away as I record this, there's an important aspect that's coming up. So since June 9th, if I'm doing that correctly, yes, June 9th, you've had Mars in your sign. Mars, typically when it's in your sign, it motivates you, it inspires you. You're not very diplomatic, you're a little bit more self-motivated. There's pluses and minuses to that. Maybe you're a little bit short-tempered, or maybe you're taking all this energy and you're really moving forward with it. Keep in mind, Taurus, and I know I've said this over the years, and maybe you're scratching your head, or maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about, that you've had Uranus in your sign since May 2018 and March 2019. At least on paper, the version of self that you were, the life that you had in 2018 and 2019 doesn't exist anymore. Something has had to change, whether that is obvious or not. I wanted to highlight that, even though it seems like I'm going backwards, because with Mars in Taurus right now, it's going to meet up with Uranus next week, which means we are feeling it all this week. Mars, it was last made that conjunction to Uranus 2 years ago. It's a 2-year cycle. I think it was April 2022 when it had the conjunction. I have to go back and look. But this is a time for you to really break free of something, to use the positive energies of Mars, drive and power and motivation, to move forward, and perhaps move forward in a very different way. Mars does talk about relationships for you, so there might be something about relationship and connection and socialization and what is happening right now. That said, we are coming off of a Cancer new moon, so that new moon created a lot of movement in your life, whether that's trips, travel, whether you are just more chatty and communicative at this time. But that's the big energy of what's going on right now. And I will say, because we are 3 months before The eclipses in 3 months after the eclipses, both these eclipses in April and also October later this year, these are picking up on themes around health, wellness, how you take care of your physical body, how you take care of your spiritual body, and the things that you need to let go. And those themes may be present this week, especially as you get closer to that Mars-Uranus conjunction. Gemini, Mercury is your planet, and as you remember, it went into Leo not that long ago. I can't remember the date. I think it might have been last week or so. But for you, this is like really amping up the Gemini energy, because Gemini plus Leo equals a lot of movement, a lot of curiosity, a lot of exploration, a lot of things to say. Maybe you're chattier than usual. Maybe you're a little bit more restless than usual. And all this is in advance of Leo season, which we're not quite there yet, but certainly in, goodness, like a couple of weeks, we will be in Leo season. And that was, yeah, I think it was last week it went into, anyway. So that said, we're fresh off of a Cancer new moon. This Cancer new moon sort of gave you a reboot and a sense of renewal for all things money and income, material stability and security. So spending, value, worth, property, and assets in some way, we're all different people, may be themes over the next 4 weeks, including value and worth, including self-worth and value. But that said, those like the major aspects of this week. Your planet, I will say, not your planet, Mercury, I should have said that for Leo. I forgot that for Taurus. But that said, with the energies going on Leo right now, I really pay attention to what's going on during Leo season or Mercury in Leo. Because as I was saying in the introduction, Leo, we're going to have a big retrograde in this space at the end of the year going into 2025. And voice, individuality, self-expression, creativity, identity, who are you, Gemini, might be big themes as you go into the new year. Cancer, the moon is your planet, and so this week it's traveling from Leo to to Scorpio, and for you, Cancer, Leo is your second sign of money and income. So we're really kind of spending the beginning of the week sort of focusing on assets and what you own, and then by the Tuesday and into the middle of the week it's in Virgo, and Virgo might give you a lot of need to get things done, start projects, trips and errands around town. I know it's your birthday season. Happy birthday. You just had this Cancer new moon. So if your birthday was the 5th of July, plus or minus a couple of days, it is a new year for you, doubly so. Somebody asked me, I think this was on YouTube, well, my birthday is later in Cancer season. Does this mean that this is not a new moon for me? Oh, no, of course it's for you. It's in your sign. And it gives you that energy of renewal to begin your personal year. It's just, if your birthday is on a new moon, it's an energy that you carry with you into the next 12 months. And it might be a big 12 months for you in some way, one that is marked by new beginnings or something dynamic, something that is a personal milestone. You'll have to get back to me. So we are still in those energies of the Cancer new moon. So it's a time to reset, to reevaluate, to start to figure out what are the next plans for the next 11 and 12 months. The moon will get into Libra later this week, and I wanted to mention that because I think I said this in the in last week's recording, but you had a solar eclipse in your sign of career. This was on April 8th, so 3 months ago. And then 3 months from now, you will have a solar eclipse in your sign of home and family on October 2nd. So if you could see the chart the way that I see the chart, it's a circle. You're over here, Cancer, home's over here, career's over here, relationships over here, forms across. And these eclipses are really activating the 4 directions of your life, but mostly focusing on home and family, living situation, and also your career and direction. I know somebody who is now who's a Cancer rising, and has seen what this eclipse is all about. She is moving, which also means that she needs to change jobs, and that is really coming out at the time of the midpoint of the eclipses. So this could be a big week, especially as the moon gets to the first quarter phase. It hits Libra Friday, Saturday, to really see potentially what the eclipse in April was about, and even the eclipse in October to come. Take notes. It's the funny thing about eclipses is that sometimes they show up 3 months before. That said, no big aspects this week, but Mars is a career planet for you, and it's kind of coming up to this conjunction to Uranus next week, the 15th, a week from now, but it's really to feel that build up throughout the week, especially when you start to think about your future, Cancer. It's like maybe the future that you thought you were having at the beginning of the year, or even like a couple years ago, or even 5 years ago, is not where you are now. It's this time of big evolving futures for you, Cancer. And maybe the future that is coming down, that you can see right now, starting to come in, is maybe the best one for you, even if it's not the one that you would pick. So that's the thing about Mars and Uranus, is that sometimes everything can change, but sometimes in a way that gets us unstuck. Leo, you got a visitor to your sign. Mercury is presently in Leo, and then starting on July 11th, Venus will join you in Leo. So there's a sense of new beginnings starting to come. I will say it's still Cancer season, so you have that Cancer new moon last week, July 5th, and that new moon is in something called your 12th. So it's kind of funny. It's like you got 1 foot, new things are happening, new personal year, you're coming up to your birthday season, and then you still have that last sign of the zodiac to cross. So we all have a 12th sign. Leo, you're the first sign in your personal astrology, or Leo rising. And if I count out 12 signs, I reach Cancer. So the last sign in this case, Cancer, represents the end. It's the end of one cycle, it's a bridge, and it prepares you for the next cycle. This is typically a season right before your birthday season to reevaluate, to look inward, to think about your life on a much larger scale, to focus on spirituality, and even letting go of the things that you don't want to bring with you into your new personal year. It's kind of like, what do we do at the end of December? I realize this might be a little bit, everybody feels differently about resolutions, but typically we're like, you know what, next year, this is gonna happen. It's a resolution. When the sun crosses into Leo on July 23rd, it's like your new personal year. It's like, okay, what are my resolutions? So this is a time to really think about whatever those personal goals and desires that you have for the coming year ahead. But you just might feel like, you really want to move forward with something, especially with Venus. Venus in Leo is very social, very playful, but you still have some things to let go and some things to not bring with you into the new year. That said, Mars is a major planet in your astrology. It's in your career sign at the moment, Taurus. It's been there since July 9th, so it's maybe a busy time for you in your professional life, or at least kind of going after your goals and ambitions. Mars will join up with Uranus next week on the 15th. We will talk about that next week, but there's some sort of needing to make a change, a breakthrough, getting out of your own way, getting unstuck, transformation that might be really building this week as you go into next week. Virgo, so Mercury is your planet, and it's in Leo. So it's not going to get to, I have to look it up. It's not helpful in your calendar that 2013. It's not going to get to Virgo until the 25th of July. So right now, Mercury is in a space that represents your 12th sign. So Virgo, whether you are Virgo sun or Virgo rising, I count out 12 and I hit Leo. So Leo is the sign that happens before you. The 12th is about endings. It's about coming full circle after a cycle. Endings come in a lot of different forms. At the end of the day, like you're preparing for bed. You're coming to the end of a personal calendar year. These are endings. And so when we get to these natural points, we need to reflect, we need to let go, we need to prepare for the next cycle ahead. So you will not have Mercury cross into your sign until July 25th. So it's a couple weeks from now. So use this time to rest, to recharge, to sort of ask yourself the deeper existential questions. We will have Mercury retrograde at the beginning of August. It's going to be August 5th. Mercury will go back into Cancer. I have it. Yep, Mercury goes back into Cancer. It should, it's not somewhere else. It should be on this post-it note. But anyway, Mercury will go back into Cancer probably at some point in August. But what that says is that you're sort of in and out of an ending and a beginning. It's like something wants to start, but you're not quite able to start it. You need to go up and wrap up loose ends and use this time to wrap up loose ends. You will have a visitor with you starting July 11th. That is Venus. So Venus is what we love and what we value, what we need to invest in. So invest in retreat, reflection, relaxation, spirituality, because Venus will love that stuff. That said, you are fresh off of a Cancer new moon. Cancer is something called your 11th sign. So this is really about looking towards the future, really figuring out what your hopes and dreams and wishes are, especially as you sort of get closer and closer to your birthday season, to spend time with friends and to really take in the importance of friends as well as community. Libra. So Venus is your planet, and Venus, as I record this, is just coming to the end of Cancer. So Cancer is a career sign for you. So you've reached, this happens every year because you have a year cycle. So Venus has reached the peak of your personal astrology, and it's like going from career and your ambitions and duties and responsibilities, and then it goes into Leo, which it will on July 11th. Yeah, the 11th. And so it's 10th. The 11th, and then it will turn your attention towards the future. Whether it's the future, like you're like, what do I want the next year to be like? Or what do I want 5 years down the road? What are my hopes, my dreams, my wishes? Or what are like friends, community? Because this part of the chart also talks about your social circle and sort of these larger questions about the role of community in your life. Venus will spend about 3 to 4 weeks in Leo, so this is a time to socialize, to make connections, but again, also to look ahead to the future. That said, we still are in the energies of the Cancer new moon. This put the spotlight on your professional life. If it's not literally your professional life, because sometimes people are like, but I don't have a traditional professional life, but we all have something that is a role and responsibility. It is a duty. We could be a parent, we could be something else, even it's a volunteer position. And so you're in a time that takes you into the next 3-4 weeks where you need to step into something, you need to step into a role. For example, do keep in mind, I would have spoken about this last week, is that we are 3 months past a solar eclipse in Aries. This eclipse was on April 8th, I know 3 months ago, and that eclipse put the spotlight on relationships for you. So it planted a seed about new beginnings in relationships. This talks about all relationships, not just romantic relationships. And it's a very dynamic time in your life. The eclipse that's going to be on October 2nd, especially if your birthday is on October 2nd, plus or minus a few days, will put you in the spotlight. And it's funny, that's the thing about eclipses, I've seen it over and over again, that even though the eclipse is 3 months from now, the seed, in a way, it's like this point in time and space that like the moon or a planet will activate before the eclipse. So really pay attention this week, because the Cancer new moon plus some other things means we're at a crossroads. Maybe you're at a crossroads. Maybe you're feeling like things are shifting and changing in your life. Maybe you can sense that something is on the horizon and you're getting hints and clues about it right now. It's just a big time. I know I've said this. It's a big time to be a Libra at the moment, or Libra rising. Whenever we have eclipses in our sign, it is largely a big time, a dynamic time. Personal events and milestones typically coincide. And I'm just sort of, again, putting the October 2nd Libra eclipse on your radar 3 months early. But here we are. We're at that sort of intersection of time and space as the sun and even that Cancer new moon hit upon the lunar nodes. Venus going into Leo, maybe you are thinking ahead. Maybe you're like, oh, what is this eclipse going to be like? Or what do I want to sort of come into my life? But it's just to observe and just to really see how the bigger events are unfolding in your life right now. I will add, and we'll talk about this more next week, Mars, it's in Taurus at the moment, but it's going to come up to a big conjunction to Uranus on Monday, July 15th. Mars is a relationship planet. So just really see what's happening in relationships as a whole and how something may be shifting and reinventing, evolving and transforming in your own way, because we all have different lives. Scorpio, so Mars is your planet. And so as you probably remember, since June 9th, Mars has been in Taurus. So Taurus is a sign that's opposite you. And Taurus and Scorpio are two very powerful signs. You could say that all signs are powerful in their own way, but Taurus and Scorpio are the axis of life and death. I know that's intense to say, but hey, you're a Scorpio, you get it. Because when the sun is in Scorpio, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, it is the end of the growing cycle. Things are in a state of decay. Taurus represents the rebirth of the growing cycle. So Mars over in Taurus, it's a time of flowering, flourishing. It's things coming to life. It's also about relationships, socialization, and connection. Maybe it's been a very social time for you. But keep in mind, Scorpio, is that you've had Uranus also in Taurus since 2018, 2019. So a bit different than Mars, which has only been there since June 9th this year. Uranus moves so slowly that it takes 7 years in total to cross one sign of the zodiac. Mars takes 5-6 weeks. So that's, you can see it's a bit of a difference. Mars is a 2-year cycle, so it's approximately 2 years ago. I'd have to look, I have to look at the calendar when it last happened. In my head, I have the Mars-Uranus conjunction as April 2022. Maybe look back at that time. But Uranus as a whole, it's been this 5-6 year chapter of trying to get you to open up to other people. It's not typically Scorpio's MO. Scorpio is really great with security, like you're really looking like who's here, who's not here, like who can I trust, who can I not trust. And it has that eagle-like perspective on life. And there's good sides to that, but sometimes that creates a huge moat, a wall, a guard tower against everything else. So just something that I've noticed that Uranus is trying to open that up. It doesn't mean that you stop and you're like, okay, I'm gonna let everybody in, but it's just to not, because Scorpio is a fixed sign, you can get really stuck. So this has been a time for Scorpio to get unstuck. Look back at the narratives around relationship and connection as they've been in your life over the last 3, 4, 5, and even 6 years. Mars to Uranus, although this will happen next week on the 15th, it's a pretty powerful conjunction. It's an energy that wants to break us free, break you free, because you are ruled by Mars, and sometimes it can be a little bit cutting and quick, and sometimes Scorpio just lets things go very, very, very quickly. But it's for you to see how this energy is unfolding in your life. Use it positively to reinvent, to reevaluate, to get unstuck, as I was saying. Just be careful about that Scorpio, sometimes quick, cut things off tendency, but sometimes in the right situations, it's exactly what Scorpio needs to do. That said, we're fresh off the Cancer new moon. This Cancer new moon put in the spotlight foreign travel, long journeys, exploration, also higher education, and really this needing to share your point of view with the world. It is making a nice stable connection to Saturn. You are a year and a half into a period of your life, Scorpio, where you're trying to take yourself and take your talents seriously. So this is a week certainly to take yourself and to take your talents seriously. Sagittarius, so Jupiter is your planet, and Jupiter has been in Gemini. How's that going for you, Sagittarius? Jupiter has been in Gemini since the end of May 2024, so just a month and a half ago. Gemini is a very different energy. This is why I asked, how's it going for you? It's very different than Taurus. Taurus from May 2022, if I'm doing that right, to May of 2023, Wait, that's not right. 2023, 2024. So May 2023 to May of 2024, Jupiter was in Taurus, and Taurus is an earth sign. It's typically a little bit more of a slow-moving sign. There's pluses and minuses, and there's certainly pluses and minuses to every sign of the zodiac. But I've noticed, and I'm Sag rising, and maybe you're Sag rising or your Sagittarius sun, that Jupiter in Gemini is just like blah, like there's people, there's places to go, there are things to do, and that is the time of our lives at the moment, at least into the next 11 months. So this continues to be a big time that focuses on other people, making connections, socialization, and for some people, even serious relationships. You are Sagittarius as much as you like to kind of jet off. Typically, Sagittarius likes to jet off to distant locations, even if that is a metaphor and not literal, but it likes to jet off. But with Saturn in Pisces since 2023, you're just in a phase of life about settling down. Settling down means different things to different people. Sometimes I say that and people think, oh, that sounds so traditional. I don't mean it like that. Settling down, it means to settle into your life. It is to come into the roots and foundation. It's to focus, for some people, to focus on home, on family. Whether you are making a major move, whether family demand more attention, it could be an elderly parent, it could be you want to create a family, or you want to just create something that seems like a family for you. But this is one of those times in your life, and this continues into the next couple of years, where it's about these sort of things that really anchor you into the memories and the milestones of your life, Sagittarius. Just use this time to create a solid and secure base and foundation. Of course, you can jet off at other times, and now you're making friends because you got Jupiter and Gemini. Maybe you're making some romance as well, and then you'll have more people to travel with at the moment. But that said, we are coming out of the Cancer new moon energies, and I said this last week that Cancer does pick up on some deeper emotional themes. And these emotional themes will be present into the next 3-4 weeks, whether it's things about family, things about the past, memories, the psyche, things that we would rather just push away, but the Cancer new moon's like, no, you got to deal with it. But it's to see how this is relevant to you. I will also add that Mars is in your sign of health and wellness. It's taking care of your body. It's your day-to-day routines. And Mars will be meeting up with Uranus next week on the 15th, so a week as I record this. So it's just maybe create a lot of restless energy. On a positive side, you can use it to make some positive changes in health and wellness, but it might be hitting on some points. Maybe you're feeling this physically, maybe you're seeing this around you, but maybe we need Saturn. Maybe that's where Saturn's actually helping us to settle down, because there's just so much movement, or at least the potentiality of movement in your astrology right now. And we will talk about that Mars-Uranus conjunction, but just keep in mind that you have at this point 5-6 years of making some major changes in your day-to-day life, habits, routines, and even how you take care of your body. Capricorn. So Saturn is your planet. Saturn is in Pisces. So this is a very interesting time for Capricorn, because typically Capricorn is this, well, it's always a sign of matter and manifestation, but those energies have been pointing towards Pisces for the last year plus. Pisces is a sign that values more the existential, the spiritual meaning and purpose over just doing something because it makes you money or because it's a duty and responsibility that you feel obligated to do. This continues to be a time to really listen to your intuition, to listen to your heart, to balance out your physical material life with the things that also give substance to your physical and material life. For some, this is a focus on voice, communication, education, writing, speaking, and communication, if I didn't say that already. But that said, that Cancer new moon that we just had is in your relationship sign. I talked about this last week, but we are really focusing, Capricorn, on relationships for the next 3-4 weeks. It's about the other people in your life. And I said this also last week, it is a big time to be a Capricorn, because the eclipses that were in April 8th, the solar eclipse in Aries, and even the eclipse to come on October 2nd in Libra, these are in your signs of home and family and also career. It's a big personal milestone. It could be a pivot point for you. It could be a time when there are big things around the household, your parents, the family that you have, the family that you're creating, maybe the family that you long to create, for example. It could be even a move, but there's just a lot of dynamic energy in Capricorn's life. And so as things start to shift and move for you, maybe that's where that Saturn Pisces is coming in and is helping you to listen more to your intuition, to your gut, as opposed to sort of just doing things because that's what you're supposed to do. The Capricorn's a really great sign of doing the script. And sometimes we need to get free from the script. That said, there's an aspect next week that's on the horizon. This will be the Mars-Uranus conjunction on July 15th. Mars is your sign of home and family. So it is presently activating some energies around family and perhaps even children. But this is getting into these themes about identity, like who are you versus like who are you with your family, and that need to really separate and individuate. And this is building on a 5-6 year story of making changes in who you are, and whether that's obvious to you at this moment or not, but that's where a lot of the energy has been unfolding. Aquarius, so Saturn is your planet. So we are now a year plus into Saturn's time in your money sign of Pisces. It continues to be a time to really look at your financial and your material life. How's it going? Like maybe this is a good checkpoint because we all, as humans, have different relationships with the material plane. Some of us need more, sometimes we need a lot of this, sometimes we don't need a lot of this. But we can all agree as human beings, we still need shelter, we still need food, we need some sort of currency that allows us to bring in the resources in our life. And so maybe you've been making investments, major investments, or maybe you've been needing to look at budgets and spending and maybe think a little bit differently about your relationship with money, for example. That said, the Cancer new moon that we just had last week, it opened the energies of renewal in your sign of, I gotta do the math, your sign of the sixth sign of health and wellness and how you take care of your body. So maybe you're using this time to get your checkups, to look at diet, fitness, and nutrition. Maybe you're looking to get organized. Maybe you're like, you know what, I need to really clean up, maybe start some projects. And that energy is really picking up on that Saturn. Saturn represents you. And so this is a time to really put things in place, to maybe make some investments and purchases that help to create stability and order and organization in your day-to-day life. That said, Aquarius, Mars is a career planet, and next week, but we're feeling it this week as well, Mars will make a conjunction to Uranus on the 15th of July. Keep in mind that you've had Uranus in your sign of home and family roots and foundation since 2018 and 2019. Mars there says that the home environment may be a bit noisy at the moment. Maybe you have people visiting, maybe people are coming, maybe you have children moving back in with you, maybe you want to move, maybe it's busy because there are moving boxes, maybe you want to make changes in the home environment. But it's for you to look back at the last 5-6 years to see how has the home, whether that's literal or metaphoric, changed over the last previous years, because Uranus is trying to get that area of your life to grow and evolve by any means possible. Sometimes it's not physical, like the house physical, sometimes it's internal. And you've had to do a lot of internal work over the last 5-6 years. So Mars is going to hit some pretty tender spots going into the beginning of next week, but it's just for you just to put that on your radar and to see how it connects to a much larger story that's been with you over the last few weeks. Finally, Pisces. So Jupiter is your planet, and how's that going for you, by the way? I've just noticed now that Jupiter is in Gemini, it's a very different energy, and Gemini is a lot busier, it's got things to do, it's got things to say, it's curious, it's restless, but it's also in your sign of home and family, and it will be there for the next 11 months. Maybe 10 months at this point. So this is a time for you, even though I said restless and curious and movement, ironically, to settle down, to focus on your home environment, the household, your living situation, family, whether that is your family that you are related to, the family that you long for, the family that you want to create. And it's a time to really tend to your roots and your foundation. Similarly themed, although a different sign, we are coming off of that Cancer new moon last week. That Cancer new moon, in a way, put you in the spotlight. Not directly, but it did talk about who are you? Who are you, Pisces? And what are the things that make you you? It is a next 3-4 weeks at this point to really focus on your talents, your gifts, your abilities, the things that only you can do. Yes, there are things that only you can do, and there is only one you in the universe, meaning do not be a cover artist in your own life. That Cancer new moon drew a line back to you because you have Saturn in Pisces, and Cancer and Saturn are in a trine at the moment. And so this is a time for you to regroup. It's maybe depending on some of the astrology going on and how it's affected you, Pisces or Pisces rising. Maybe you've had some big personal milestones in the last year, but this is giving you stability to sort of come back to the things that you are familiar with, that light you up, that give you joy, because maybe you need that because it's been a lot of life in order for you to sort of come back to put your hand back on the wheel of life, so to speak. So that is what's going on at the moment, Pisces. The bigger stuff is a little bit down the line, but that said, there you go, Pisces. So there you go for everybody. That is your look at the astrology of July 8th through 14th, 2024. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. This is presently in Delaware. I got a lake behind me. I will be back in Maryland tomorrow, but always lovely to see familiar faces. You can follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. You can book a consultation with me. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, and of course, every week we come together to do this live. So I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you all next week. Take care. Bye-bye. Oops. Bye. There we go.